The federal judge overseeing the contempt of Congress case, U.S. District Court Judge Amit Mehta, wondered about the treatment Navarro received. He was arrested and handcuffed by the FBI at Reagan Airport for 2 misdemeanor charges. The judge said, quote, "It is curious to me, at a minimum, why the government treated Mr. Navarro's arrest the way it did." Peter Navarro complained about the FBI's conduct, saying he was handcuffed, denied food and water, and not allowed to make a phone call to his lawyer. Navarro faces 2 misdemeanor charges because he failed to comply with a subpoena from the January 6th committee. Professor Alan Dershowitz, author of a new book called The Price of Principle, joins me. Alan, the treatment he received, what's your thoughts on how they treated Navarro?
Unconstitutionally, outrageously, selectively, in a partisan manner, and in a very un-American way. He should have had his lawyer just receive a summons, or him receive a summons, asking him to report to court on a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. That's the way it's done, unless it should be done, unless the person is a major flight risk or a danger risk. But what's happened recently is he's not the only such case. There have been several people, high-profile people, particularly on the Trump support side, who have been treated like mafia criminals. And it should be against the law to do that. I believe it is against the Constitution to do it. And nobody should be allowed to be arrested in that way without a judge first approving the arrest based on evidence of likely flight or likely danger. I've written about this. I wrote about the Navarro case. And this is a growing problem in America, and we have to confront it, because otherwise it's Alice in Wonderland. The punishment comes first, and then in many of these cases, they're acquitted or the charges are dropped. And this didn't start now. It started with Rudy Giuliani back in the day when he would arrest people and perp walk them, and then many of them were acquitted or weren't even charged. It's a general problem that we have today. Prosecutors often are overzealous, and they violate the rights of people who are presumed innocent.
All right, let me add my 2 cents. First of all, I have practiced in that court. I did criminal defense work in that court. I have never seen anyone treated. These are 2 charges, misdemeanors, not violent crimes, misdemeanors, and ready for this? He lives across from the FBI. They actually had to go further to go across the river to Reagan National Airport in order to put handcuffs on him and to drag him across the river and do this arrest. He lives across. But what, I couldn't figure out, so many judges today, at least in my experience, don't, they may not be as aggressive about the Constitution as I think they should be, and I think you probably think they should be. So I dug into this judge's background. I thought, why did this judge have the guts to say that he was curious about Navarro's arrest and how he was treated? And do you know what this judge did? For about 5 years, he was a public defender in the District of Columbia. He knows the way the things are done. This guy gets it. This judge gets it. That's why this, I don't know what Navarro did or didn't do on 2 misdemeanors, but I can tell you this is he sure got a treatment nobody else gets. So Lord should get.
We have the first president in history to have been a public defender. Joe Biden, as a young lawyer right out of law school, was a public defender. And I would hope that maybe it will trickle down from the top to the Justice Department and to the FBI and to the Secret Service and to anybody who has the power to arrest, that the presumption of innocence means treating people as if they're innocent, that an indictment or an information, all it means is that there's a charge. It doesn't mean that that alone gives you a basis for treating the person as if the person is guilty. And our criminal justice system needs a major overhaul. Over 95% of cases now are pleaded because of the threat of mega sentences. Of those that are not pleaded, 95% result in convictions because of changes in the law. And of those that are convicted, 95% result in affirmance on appeal. We no longer have a viable criminal justice system of the kind that we had for so many centuries, from the beginning of history with John Adams and Abraham Lincoln, that we should be so proud of. We have nothing to be proud of with the criminal justice system in America today. I've been teaching criminal law now for more than half a century, and this is one of the worst examples, the Navarro case, especially since in the end, he's probably not guilty, because these subpoenas should have gone to court first to get judicial approval and let the defendants come up with their defenses first. Is it privileged? Is it covered by some other defense before they issue arrest orders in cases like
Alan,
this?
here's the
I think
question that
Banyan and these guys may very well get acquitted in the end.
Here's the question that we're not going to get answered tonight, but needs to be answered, because what I have heard the scuttlebutt, and I don't know, is that decisions on how these arrests are not made by the FBI agents themselves, but they come higher up. And what I would like to know is who made the decision to execute this arrest in this manner to a guy who lives across from the FBI, who incidentally, he's not soft and fuzzy, so he might have been a little obnoxious at some point, but he's still entitled to his rights. But who made that decision? How high up? And I'd love to have a person come and explain it to me, but I'm taking the last word on that, Alan. But what? Oh, go ahead.
I agree with you. I agree with you. If you had a real congressional committee on January 6th, maybe they'd ask those questions, but they're not.
All right. Professor Dershowitz, thank you very much. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.